Welcome to the Artist Behind the Music series, Australian series. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we have Katrina Burgoyne, all the way from Australia and currently residing in Nashville. Welcome,
Hi.
Katrina. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. It's almost like, oh, she's going to tell a fib. I'm coming from Australia, but I'm only calling. We're probably in the same time zone too, actually.
Very close. We are
Yeah.
definitely not with having that massive time difference. It's not the future for you right now.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'm not. You'll probably come from the future then.
You're an
So,
hour ahead of me, I think. Yeah. I'm on Mountain Time. Yeah.
I love it.
It's an educational series as well.
Yes. Yeah, it's just
That's
me. I don't even know what mountain time is. So,
That's okay. We'll save that for another day.
that's great.
That's awesome. So you're in Nashville. Tell me a little bit about what brought you there, how you transitioned from Australia to the Nashville life, and yeah, I'll let you just.
Yeah, well, I moved out to Nashville 4 years ago, and I started coming out, and it's quite expensive when you're traveling international. It used to be such a long flight and such an expensive trip where I would stay for 3 months at a time, and in those 3 months, I would move out of my house, put it in storage, and everything in storage, and then come back to nothing and start my life over again and do it, again. So I thought, well, I'm just going to move to Nashville instead of, I was eligible for my O1 entertainment visa, and I thought, I'm just going to do it. So I came on out here with 3 suitcases, a guitar, and $15,000 American. And I was terrified. I didn't have management or anything. I just kind of came out and just thought I could do this. And I hit the ground running, would play wherever I could. And 4 years later, I've built a lovely little life here in Nashville. And I've got a German Shepherd dog who's absolutely adorable.
Oh,
And and so it's just like how could I leave that?
oh, that's amazing. So, do you have any plans to go ever back to Australia? Or are you pretty happy Nashville bound?
I called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm gonna die here. And she's like, oh, and I'm like of old age, of old age. I'm gonna die of old age here. So I think, I cannot wait to get back home to Australia for visits. I have only been home one time, and it's just basically been because of financial, trying to move countries and build your life. Like even if I was blessed enough to be Canadian, I could just pack up my car and drive down south. Whereas for me, it was like sell everything, even if you take a loss on it, sell everything, and then start your life from scratch. So I bought a little beat up little car for about $3,500 that I still drive. And you know, I just had to start it. It's quite costly starting from scratch. It was an interesting, adventure.
For sure. For sure. There's something about starting again. It's hard to kind of get your feet planted somewhere. So, did you find that was
Yeah.
hard on your creativity, moving all the time? And
I think one thing is that like they say that if you've got security, you have the ability to fly and flourish. And I think honestly, it took me, as strong as a independent female as I am, there is always something that in a woman, for myself, I can't speak on every woman, but for myself, there is something about feeling safe and protected by a significant other. And I think I probably really didn't feel like it was home and I was safe until I met my boyfriend. So I was here for about 2 years before we met. And you know, it's funny. It's just like being in another country, I could only make an income from playing music. And I had some troubles too. It wasn't the most effortless transition. I was chronically ill with sinusitis and would lose my voice in a country where I had to use my voice to sing. And so I kind of had a lot of stresses. And as soon as I met him, I actually flew home to Australia to get better. I had 2 operations, but I went home to recover and get better and escape the winter because wintertime everything flares up for me. And he flew out and he says, come home, I'm going to keep you safe. And it's funny when someone says that, it's different. You know what I mean? Like I felt really safe to go, then I was able to fly then. And, and it's not like I ever really had to, I've never needed him. I've never been like, hey, I can't work this week or I need your help. But it's something like when someone says that, it's a subconscious thing. I'm not out here on my own anymore. I don't have to be afraid. I've got someone to look after me. I've got someone to watch out for me,
I like that a lot. I've got someone
Yeah.
to watch out for me. I think that's important, right? Just
Yeah.
knowing that it does something settling for you. And I mean, whatever that looks like for people too, right? Whether it's friends, family, a significant other, it's just important to surround yourself with people with love, right?
Yeah, I think so. And Nashville, as much as I love it, it's like I have so many friends, but no friends at the same time. Could go to a bar and have drinks and I meet so many friends, but it's really hard to find those true friends. And those true friends that building relationships and friendships. I think I probably really only got about two real true friends that I could call up in the middle of the night if I needed someone and say, hey, can you help me? But back then I didn't have anyone I could call. And it's a bit of a terrifying thing. Like I remember buying my car. I didn't know anything about cars. I didn't know what kind of car to get. And I didn't even have anyone to go, hey, can you pop the hood on this and tell me if it's okay to buy? Things like that where you take for granted. Even things like getting my license. I remember I'm going to sound like I'm really pathetic here, but I'm a tough cookie, right? But I remember getting my license in America as a kid. Where sort of our parents show us how to do it, show us the process. I had no idea how to do it. So I kept researching and I had all these questions and I asked too many questions at the DMV here. And she looked at me and talked to me like I was so stupid. And I was like overwhelmed and I just sort of started tearing up. And I said, I've just moved countries by myself and I don't have anyone else to ask. I said, I'm just asking you to be kind to me. And I said, I think you're a really mean person. Anyway, and I walked out. Anyway, an hour later, she actually took me for the driver's test and she was so pleasant and gave me the license. And she was very pleasant after that. But yeah, it's just
people
funny.
Just be called out.
Yeah, and I will. I'm Australian. I don't know, Canadians are very much the same. We don't take no BS.
Just kindness, love and kindness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So you found your footing, which is amazing.
I did, finally. It took me about 2.5 years to really kind of feel like I could flourish.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, I'm glad you have found your footsteps in Nashville. It's such a cool place, and I can't wait to come back down there as soon as we can fly.
It's so special, and I know that it would welcome you with open arms.
Yes, very soon, very soon.
Yeah.
So how did you get started in music? What were you singing since childhood? Was it something you kind of developed in your teens? Where did you kind of find that you wanted to be a musician for life?
So both my grandfathers played music, and my grandfather on my dad's side would play in a ragtime band. He'd play like the clarinet, saxophone, and also bring all these instruments. Whenever I go to his house, my dad's house, he'd bring all these instruments over, and I would just be obsessed. Like that would be my fun. I'd play and try and figure out how to play the violin, all these things. And then my grandfather on my mum's side, my poppy, he played country music, and I'd sit on his lap and he would wrap the guitar around me and play me country songs. And so him and I always had this bond. All the other cousins would be playing and doing stuff, but I would be obsessed. Like I would just sit, you probably would bring out the guitar or anyone would bring out a guitar, I'd be there front center stage. I just wanted to hear someone like sing to me. I used to love dancing. So music for me, and all those kids' toys, like if there was a toy piano, I'd be playing it. Like and I'd zone everyone else out. Like I'd just kind of, so for me, it was something of childhood, but I picked up the guitar when I was about 11. And I actually picked it up because we used to go camping. We used to travel around the outback in Australia and just camp. Like we'd take a month off school and we'd go travel Australia. I was very blessed to have that opportunity. And we would sit around the campfire and at night all the time with no entertainment. And I used to say, well, I'm going to learn the guitar, and I'd sing some songs. I'd sang in choir and always sang. And I learned the guitar, but within a year of playing the guitar, I ended up every weekend we were going to music festivals and opportunities for me to sing and grow talent quests to grow my music. So it was it was a blast growing up, and I feel so very blessed to have had parents that supported me so much. But yeah, so I was about 11 when I started writing songs.
That's awesome. Do you remember your first song that you wrote?
I do. It was so bad. It was called Was It a Wish?
Was it a
It,
wish?
it wasn't a wish, and it's the worst song ever. Yeah.
Well, I remember my first song I wrote, it was about a slamming starfish. So I don't know.
Oh, a lemon starfish. That sounds very creative.
I'm not sure where it stemmed from. I found it in my old diary from when
I
I was like
love
6. So funny.
Well, do you know, my very, very first song I started writing, I was about 6. And I remember I was laying in bed, and I'm trying to write. Now, I couldn't spell. So every few words, I'd get out of bed and run to my brother's room and say, Bradley, how do you spell this? And there's a big joke because my brother would teach me how to spell everything wrong. And I'm the worst speller ever. And so one of my songs, all I remember was one of the words was sea, like SEA, under the sea.
Yeah.
And so maybe my Under the Sea song could have gone with your Slim and Starfish song.
Probably. Maybe
Yeah.
we were meant to collaborate
Yeah.
as
We
6-year-old.
were co-writing subliminally and didn't know it.
Right? Who knows? Who knows? The world's a cool place. So cool. Do you have a favorite song that you have written? A standout?
I do. My favorite song is called Songwriter. I've never released it. And Songwriter, I wrote about moving to Nashville and just feeling defeated, feeling unheard, feeling like maybe I should just give up and go home. And also about those things of like waking up each day and dusting yourself off and trying again. So that's my favorite song.
Oh,
But it's not released yet. It's still yeah.
It's still
I'm excited. I can't wait to release it.
a baby bundled.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I like that message. I think that's something most artists, I would say, if not all artists, have felt that way, right? And it's just that perseverance and persistence that we really need to like bundle up and use it as best we can every single day because it's a tough world out there. What would you say the hardest part of being a musician is?
The hardest part of being a musician, I think, and it's probably the same thing. It's probably the same thing. It's just like the constant no's. You just need one yes, but like how many no's do you have to hear to find that one yes? I think that's the hardest part. And I think it's like, how do you keep pushing through on days when, like, I used to be so fierce and resilient. I used to be so fierce when I was a little kid. I used to go up and introduce myself to everyone and be really kind of ignorant in a sense, and just introduce myself, be bold. And now it's kind of like I've been told no so many times that I don't ask people for what I want anymore. I'm kind of a little bit more reserved. I don't think that people will be as warm and opening to me. And I think that's just like a chiseling down of time, like confidence being chiseled down. It's not that I'm not confident in myself. It's more so that I'm probably not as bold with it. It's like, be humble, don't talk, you know what I mean?
Right. It's almost like society trains us to be quiet.
Yeah.
Right. And how do we find that inner child again? And I always think about that is like, how do we become fearless? How do we run through that fire? How do we just be bolder every single day be child-minded in an adult sense, right?
Yeah, that's so true. I love that.
Yeah, every day, just try a little. It's like put that piece back on, right? The piece that was chipped away. What are some tools that you use to push through the fear and to push through the no's and the resistance that shows up?
I think, I actually took some time out from music back almost 10 years ago, actually. I was fortunate enough to be nominated for 2 Golden Guitar Awards in Australia, which is equivalent to like your CMAs over there. Is it CCMAs over there? And, I remember being nominated and thinking, I remember writing that goal down when I was 14 years old, that I was going to win a Golden Guitar Award. And I remember sitting there being nominated, and I was struggling with depression. And I remember thinking, wow, I was meant to be happy. Like I always dreamed that I was going to be happy at this moment. And my whole life had self-destructed. It was like everything I'd created in my adult life at that point had self-destructed. And I remember sitting there, I was so broke. I'd invested so much money into making that a reality. I could have bought a house. I could have done a lot of things with that money. But I remember sitting there being broke and thinking, okay, so basically I did all this for what? To be miserable at the awards. And it was kind of like shifted my reality of things. And I took about 3 years off, or probably about 18 months to I don't know, however many years. And where I would write songs just for me. I didn't write songs for anyone else, didn't write them for the radio. And I remember thinking, when I picked up the guitar again and made the trip to Nashville, and when I woke up again and got out of the dark slumber, I remember thinking, why do I do music? And I think my why was so different. I used to do the why because I wanted the validation and I wanted, the awards and the glitz and the glamour. And now I do it because I simply cannot do it. I think a big part of my depression was the fact that I wasn't living my potential in my music. And so now it's just like I do it because I love it and it makes me happy. It makes me happy every day to work on it. Whether or not I sit, at the Golden Guitars nominated ever again, or whether or not I get to come up to Calgary to the Calgary Stampede, or, like all the amazing things that happen on this journey, it doesn't really matter. I'm doing it. And eventually you just kind of, it's a snowball effect, right? Start the snowball, even if it's little, it'll keep getting bigger.
Totally. No, I love all that you said. I think you really have to tap into the heart space. And once you tap into that and you're like, this is why I'm doing this. Like I find on the really challenging days, or when I'm so scared to get on a stage to say, it's like, I have to step back and check in. I'm like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to feel fear? Am I doing this to feel bad? No, I'm doing this because I love to do that, or love music. And it's like, you cannot live without doing it. Right. And all of a sudden your perspective shifts a little bit, right? When you're not focused on the fear and the scary stuff and you focus in on the love of it. Right.
Yeah.
Different.
I think too, also, it's like one big thing, and I think is a part of my purpose is, and I'm sure everyone has the same purpose. It's kind of like, that fear, right? It's okay to feel afraid. And it's about facing the fear every step of the way. And I feel like every step of the way with music, you're always facing the fear. You're like, oh, then this is out of my comfort zone. And you have to gradually build up. I think that's why Nashville is such a hard transition for me. It's like, I was brave. I packed up the bag, I moved, I did it. But I got here and I got so engulfed by fear that it was hard to move forward. It was so out of my comfort zone, not just a little bit. It was so far out of my comfort zone. Now this is my comfort zone here in Nashville. I've found comfort in this. And so now I'm free to like extend my range of comfort, just that little bit, and I think it kind of just keeps extending.
Isn't that interesting when you take on, I felt that too. I moved down to Atlanta for music many years ago, and it was a big shift to, pack everything up and move down to a new city. And you were brave to get there, but once you get there, it's almost paralyzing. It's almost just a feeling of like, I can't do anymore because I did all that I can do. I made the move, and now it's an interesting thing how the mind works. It's challenging, and I think we all experience this at some capacity, but I love having conversations about it because it's nice to learn different tricks and tools from different people, and even just the knowing that you're not the only person that's felt that way, and nor am I, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everyone goes through it in some extent, whether or not they do music, whether it's they move away from their small town, whether it's they're afraid to leave someone that is unhealthy for them, or whatever it may be. I think it is just about, finding comfort in the uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's my favorite tagline. I love that line. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's not easy. So you released a new single. Speaking of uncomfortable things, sometimes it's scary to release a new song, right? I don't know if you feel that, but
totally feel it.
Yeah. And did you just release that in September?
So I released my brand new single, 25 Cents in the Ashtray. I think it was September. Yeah, it's been out for 3 weeks.
Okay, great.
When I say September, it feels like, no, wait, that's too far in the year. But yeah, was September.
I know this year's kind of like a time warp.
Uh-huh.
That's a great song. I love it. It's a song that you can listen to and you just kind of feel connected. Like I felt like I was driving, I got 25 cents in the ashtray, my $12 sunglasses. Like who hasn't experienced that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. It was a great song to write. I remember that song kept haunting me. Oh, I've got 25 cents in the ashtray. It just kept haunting me for months. But I actually have a song called Tennessee, and the melody of Tennessee is like, if you ever want to come to Tennessee, and I had 25 cents in the ashtray. I'm like, oh, it sounds too similar, but now recorded, it doesn't sound similar. But at the time, I'm like, I can't write that. I can't write 25 cents in the ashtray because I've already written it's Tennessee. That's all it is, you know. But I took it to one of my co-writers, Jake Anderson, who I love. He's a special writer, and we got the song, and I loved it from day one. You know. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, it's a great song. How did you choose to release that one? Do you have a special method when you choose to release your singles, what you're gonna put out there, or is it just whatever kind of feels good for the time?
So I actually released a song in July, and the purpose of that was just to warm up the market. So I released a song called It All Falls Down, and It All Falls Down was fan voted for me to release. Like when I say voted, it wasn't voted. It was like mostly a lot of my fans would say, please, can you release that song? Can you release that song? So I released it, and it was kind of like a soft release, I guess you could say. I didn't want to go and invest a lot of money into like radio promotions and stuff like that. So we just did what we could with it on the budget of COVID and the 2020. And I ended up, this was I kind of say this was like my debut since I've debuted. Like I kind of released music back before Spotify was a thing. We removed everything because it was more Americana sort of genre. So I've kind of cleared everything and I've re-released now. So this is my second song. And I'd say this is the song that talks about who I am. You know, this is the Who I Am song, that like how people can get to know me better and feel connected to my story and follow my journey.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Okay, well, I would love to hear some music. Time's flying today.
Perfect. Do you want me to do 25 cents in the ashtray?
Yes, I would love that. You can play 2 songs if you're up for it.
All right. Do you want 2 songs, one straight after the other, or how do we do this?
Oh yeah, you can play it. We can chat, and then you can go and do another one, or we can just.
Well, how about I do my first single I released, and I'll wrap up with 25 cents.
All
right, perfect. So this was my very first song I released on Spotify back in July. It's a little saucy. So I wrote this song with a guy called Jordan Broker and Palmer Lee. And what we did was, let me just get that happening. Oh no, that's turned off now. Oh yeah, we've still got it. So we wrote this one for a male to sing, and after so many requests, I thought, okay, I'll try a girl version. So it's a little saucy, so don't get too hot and flustered.
Okay.
Here we go. I swear I only had you over for a glass of wine. A little buzz forward and just a kiss goodnight. Now I'm holding my breath, kissing your neck, touching your chest, losing my address. Getting closer now than we've ever been, tasting your skin, dancing with sin, baby, that's when it all falls down. Hair around my shoulders, clothes in a mess on the ground, yeah, it all falls down. You and me together, wrapped up here right now, and you look so good that I can't help but come on, when it all falls down. over before we even cross that line. Now I'm holding my breath, kissing your neck, touching your chest, losing my dress, getting closer now than we've ever been, tasting your skin, dancing with sin, baby, that's when it all falls down. Hair around my shoulders, clothes in a mess on the ground, it all falls down. You and me together, wrapped up here right now, and you look so good that I can't help but come on round when it all falls down. Yeah, 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 when it all falls down. Now I'm holding my breath, kissing your neck, touching your chest, losing my dress, getting closer now than we've ever been, tasting your skin, dancing with sin, baby, that's when it all falls down. Hair around my shoulders, clothes in a mess on the ground, it all falls down. You and me together, wrapped up in right now, and you look so good that I can't help but come on, well, when it all falls down. Yeah, 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 when it all falls down. Yeah, when it all falls down.
Ah, love that. It's so good.
Thank
So
you.
good. Acoustic like that. Oh my gosh. I love
Thank
it.
you
Sing it
so
along.
much.
I didn't want to ruin it. It was so good.
I love it. Thank
Oh,
you,
it's such a
honey.
great song. It just is one of those songs that it just makes you feel got that like build and then it just pulls you. Oh,
Oh, thank you. Well, it was so interesting. I remember writing that song and thinking, oh no, it's too risque for a woman to sing. So we amended the lyrics and made it for a girl. And it's like, it's so sexy that I was like, oh, is it too inappropriate? But as a woman, it's so fun to sing it. I feel so empowered to, holding my breath, touching your chest. You know what I mean? You're kissing my neck and getting closer now. You know what I mean? And it's very sensual, and it's fun to sing that because, like, most girls are a little bit more modest, particularly in country music. I mean, I'm not talking about WAP or anything like that, but in country music, we're a little bit more modest.
Yeah, and isn't that interesting that why is that okay or acceptable for a male to sing that song but not a woman? And I think that's very empowering to throw lyrics like that together and own them without fear,
Yeah.
right? Just like
Yeah.
because it's real, like that is real life stuff.
Yeah. It's good. It's good fun.
Yeah, it's great. I like that a lot. So good. Okay, and I just always find this so interesting. Anytime I'm speaking to somebody from another country and when they sing, they sound just like, Canadian or it just always blows my mind. I'm like, what happened?
Well, actually, the funny thing is that there's only a few words in Australian that actually sound Australian. So, like, if I was to say passing, I would say I'm passing instead of passing,
Right.
or glass instead of glass. And
Singing, would you use gloss instead of
I
glass?
actually sing American. And I do that because it sticks out like dog's balls. That's the only way I can say it.
Yeah.
It just stands out so bold that I don't know. It doesn't sound like me. It doesn't sound like me. It's kind of like all of a sudden I sound like an ochre, like an ochre version of Australia. Like it kind of like makes my Australian accent sound like super country Australian or something. And it just doesn't sound, and it's confusing because you sound like I sound American and everything else I sing except for a few words, and it confuses me. So I just sing American.
Was it hard to get that habit of doing that, or was it just
I
something
actually grew up like loving the Dixie Chicks and Shania
Yeah.
And so like I grew up singing their stuff. My singing teacher used to make me sing Australian. And I've got a few videos of me singing Australian, but honestly, it was, I've just I sing American. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's perfect. And
That's natural now.
and it sounds great. I love it. And I'm excited to hear your next song. 25 cents in the ashtray.
Sing now?
Yeah.
So this is my current single. It's out, and check out the music video to it. My boyfriend and I produced it. So Steve produces all the music. He's amazing, Steve Kinney. And he also does film. So we produced the music video together, and we're really proud of it. So here we go. We did the music video on a 25-cent budget.
Perfect.
Oh, I got 25 cents in the ashtray, scratched the $12 cheap shades, a quarter tick on a highway, dreaming someday. I done thinking, I sold everything for a dream and a ticket to catch it. $100 and folks to hear me say, I know it might not seem like much from the outside looking in, but I got 25 cents in the ashtray, scratched a $12 cheap shades, a quarter tick on a highway, dreaming someday. Ain't no other way I'd have it, isn't it kind of romantic? 'Cause one day I'm gonna look back at living the good days, living the good days now. But if I do, I know I won't try again. So I'm all in. I got a beat up car, no credit score like I'm 19, and I keep fighting. As long as these four wheels keep on turning, I ain't slowing down. If I wake up with a song, then I'll be the richest girl around, and I get 25 cents in the ashtray, scratched up $12 cheap shades, a quarter tick on a highway, dreaming someday. Ain't no other way I'd have it, isn't it kind of romantic? 'Cause one day I'm gonna look back at living the good days, living the good days now. I'm living the good days now. $12 cheap shades, a quarter tank on a highway, dreaming someday, yeah. Ain't no other way I'd have it, isn't it kind of romantic? 'Cause one day I'm gonna look back at living the good days, living the good days now. Living the good days now. Oh, I got 25 cents in the ashtray, $12 cheap shades. Oh, I got 25 cents in the ashtray, scratched up $12 cheap shades. Living the good days.
So good. Oh, I love your music. You just do something to the heart. It just, you feel uplifted and happy.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I can't wait to hear your music. I want you to shoot through an email for me.
Absolutely. I will for sure. It was a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much. I have one more question for you. If you had one message to share with the world, what would that be?
I would say chase your dream, no matter what. Don't be afraid. Just chase it. The net will always appear, no matter how hard it is.
Absolutely. Good
So
advice.
like leap and the net will appear. That was one thing I used to say, leap and the net will appear, and it will always appear.
It always does, right?
Yeah.
It always does. And if it doesn't, well, just get back up and keep walking. Right?
I think no matter what, like you'll always be guided where you're meant to be. And I think if you're meant to do something, the whole universe will conspire to make it happen. So do what you want to do and just let life mold the direction of it. But don't be too afraid.
That's very good advice. Chase your dreams, everyone. Well, thank
Yeah.
you again so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to keep sharing your music and keep
Thank
listening
you.
to all the amazing things that you're going to be releasing. I look forward to hearing the songwriter song, all that good stuff.
Yay. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I really appreciate it. It was so nice to meet you, girl.